guys, we're back. It's Spider. This is Destiny. I'm down again. No. Okay, so we've beat the War Priest. Well, what happens after that? Well, you get into this maze thing. It's really, really dark, and, you know, I don't think we've actually worked out a straight path to where we need to go. There's a calcified fragment in here, and basically all you do is either, like, stick left or stick right, and everybody stay together, because everybody has to be together in order to open this door. But you can kind of get a feel for where we're heading. I mean, it is kind of lit up at the ends of these hallways to where we need to go, okay? And I think there are a bunch of candles. There are a bunch of candles at the end of the hallway that we need to get to. See right here? This is where we're heading. I'm going to revive Hyper. Hyper! Okay? And then once you get to the doorway, all players have to be there. Kind of like a lot of the doors for progression in raids. And then once you do that, we've got the King's Hall new mission, Golgoroth Cellar. Yes, this is Golgoroth, okay? So it's a boss battle, another boss battle. And the way you kick it off, you see this orb right here. Well, we're going to shoot it down. So I'm going to explain it as we go. So we shoot it down, it drops down, and Golgoroth is going to spawn. We've got 3 players on the right, 3 players on the left, and what we're going to do is we're going to take out all the minions. Now, this is one of the mistakes we made when we were trying to do this the first time, was we were trying to kill Golgoroth while all these minions were spawning. Well, there's no point. You don't need to do that. I mean, you still need to make sure that you do this fairly quick, because you don't want them to enrage, but you still have time to take out all the minions. So 3 on the left, 3 on the right, they all spawn from the back, so just make sure that you're protected from Golgoroth. You have something on your left-hand side so he doesn't shoot at you, or he doesn't hit you with his weird-ass gaze thing that, you know, ogres do, okay? So he's like this glorified ogre. I mean, he has tentacles and stuff. It's pretty cool. So you see those orbs that are above us, right? Well, those are what you want to hit. When you drop those orbs, it drops a pool down below that you can stand in, and that gives you a damage buff on Golgoroth. If you're just going to shoot him normally, I mean, you can, and he does have a crit point on his back, but you're not going to do a whole lot of damage, okay? So once all the spawns are done, we break off, 2 players go into the back area, basically where it's sort of back when you first come into this area, and on the left. They're going to take Golgoroth's gaze by shooting him in this crit on his back. The rest of us, the 4 of us, are going to drop down. We've got weapons of light that we're dropping down. Now you stand in, you know, we shot that orb, the orb dropped down, we're in this pool, and we're getting a damage buff, and he has this opening on his belly that gives you crit. Okay, so I'm doing, what, I think at one point I was doing 110,000 damage on his crit. He has like something crazy, like 5 million health, okay? So we're gonna do the orb on the left, and then what happens, and we do have quite a bit of time to be down here, you're gonna get Cursed Thrall that spawn in, so if you have one of the 4 players that is down in this bottom area, kind of looking at the Cursed Thrall and trying to take him out, you know, take the Cursed Thrall out while we're trying to do damage on him, so that we don't, you know, I mean, you're gonna get blown up if one or more of these guys blow up in your face, right? So there are those guys, they're doing damage on Golgoroth in that second pool. You can do 3. It's pretty tough to do the other ones because his gaze is focused on the 2 players that are basically swapping off getting his gaze. I mean, you have to swap it up. You have to have 2 players because one player shoots him in that crit on his back, gets his gaze, and then the second player has to take it, because otherwise you lose it. And when you lose it, you get all the spawns that come in, and you get Golgoroth shooting his, you know, purple eyeball attack at you. All right? So, again, it's kind of complicated. These things are kind of difficult to explain, but once you've done it a few times, and I don't have the viewpoint of the guys that are actually taking his gaze, but they can only take it so many times, and then he's going to reset. And once that gets down to near that point, they're calling it out to us. They're saying, hey, we're on the last phase or on the last cycle. We're going to lose his gaze, so you guys got to get out of there. Otherwise, Golgoroth's going to take us out. So then we go back into our 2 teams of 3. We go and take out the spawns. Now, we're not even close to being done. I don't know why I'm all the way up there, or why everybody followed me. We come back again, and we're going to do the same thing, all right? try to have a high impact sniper, and like I can consistently do the most damage on most of these enemies simply because the sniper that I have is pretty awesome on the impact. It's the 1,000-yard stare, legendary, and I got it. I don't even know where I got it. I mean, it was just a random drop, I think. And I've got it at 298 attack, so it does, you know, like I said, with Weapons of Light and with a Night Stalker bow on him, I'm doing 110,000 crit. Okay, so that's not too bad. So if you got good snipers, then use those. I mean, you can use rockets. Fusion rifles are useless because they don't do crit damage. But here we are again. Okay, so Hyper and Y are taking his gaze, and once they call that they're basically in process of taking it, we're shooting down the first orb. We're going to drop the Weapons of Light down there again. I'm going to use my bow on him, switch to my sniper, make sure I get the Weapons of Light, stand in. Yeah, there you go. What's that? Oh, 112 crit. Okay, so more than 110. I was doing 112 crit there with the Weapons of Light and with the bow. All right, so the bow effect's gone. Again, coordinating with the other hunter in our team to ensure that he's using his bow on the second cycle when we get the second orb down. So there's the other orb. We're going to shoot it down right now. And we still have Weapons of Light. I'm trying to make sure that I still have Weapons of Light. There we go. And I died again. So you can still die. You can still mess this up and progress. You just got to make sure you're doing as much damage as possible. Okay? Like I said, at most, you can usually get about 3 orbs. But again, depending on the way he's turned, you're not going to be able to hit that crit from certain areas. So 3 at most. The other, you know, if you try and do another orb and drop it down on him, you're going to be in a position where you're not going to be able to see his crit. I mean, you can still do damage on him, but it's almost pointless because it's not crit damage. Okay? See, there we go. So we dropped the third orb right there. We're not going to be able to finish him off on this cycle. It's going to require 3 cycles, it looks like. I think if you do it, you know, if it takes you longer than 3 cycles, that he probably would get enraged before you're able to kill him. So those guys, Hyper and Y, have called it, and we're back up, and we're going to basically shoot the minions again. He's almost dead. He's almost dead. So one more cycle, and we've got this for sure. So I do got to say, and I you know, we have time to comment here. We have Taken coming in again, so it looks like on the 3rd cycle of each of these boss fights, you end up having Taken if you didn't have it to begin with. But I will say that I am enjoying this raid. I mean, the boss fights are pretty awesome. Again, though, the only thing that that bugs me a little bit is it's been fairly easy. You know, maybe not necessarily to figure out, and we had trouble in certain areas just because we didn't happen to do certain things. Like I said, in this area, we spent a lot of time because we just didn't take out the minions. We thought they just kept spawning in. We didn't realize that they just stopped spawning, and that was one of the suggestions that Hyper made towards the end of our first night when we were all really tired, and it was on the live stream. We were just really tired. A lot of us were wrecked that day and that night, and we just didn't think of it, and that was the last thing we kind of suggested at the end of the night before we left, before we decided, okay, we're just going to end it off. Well, what happens if we just kill all the minions? Like, you know, just focus on the minions and see what happens. Well, yeah, they do eventually stop spawning, so again, little mistakes here and there that cost you a lot of time and a lot of headache. That, you know, it ends up being a simple, you know, something simple that you needed to do in order to get past that. But yeah, it's been pretty easy to beat. Like, once you have it down, it's very easy. And you compare that with, like, World of Warcraft raids, etc., where it's taken people weeks to get past the raid. We got to get to that point with maybe not weeks, but it would be nice to have these things being a little bit more difficult. You know, having it beat for the first time in under 7 hours, and I think Crota's End was like 6 hours, or maybe it was more, I'm not sure, 6 or 7 hours. Yeah, not too difficult, really, right? When, you know, for comparison's sake, when you're comparing it to something like World of Warcraft. So there you go, Golgoroth. Golgoroth has been destroyed, and I did get something pretty good. I did get a good drop. I mean, it wasn't a weapon, but it's going to help me get my light level up. So I'm going to walk through here. There we go. Check it out. Check out those gauntlets. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that. We got some moldering shards there. which if you have 20 or more, apparently you get additional drops from Oryx. I guess we'll see what happens if we ever do that. Let me, oh, look at that. A lot of people got a lot of decent stuff. So raid gear for the most part, and I'm going to check out my gauntlets here in a second. Come on, Spider! Check out the gauntlets! Oh, and 309! Yeah, 309. So I think 310 is probably the max. I don't think any of us have gotten a 310 drop. I think 309 has definitely been the highest light level drop that any of us have gotten. I think Hydra, his shotgun came in at 308. I think mine's 303. So, anyways, that's Golgoroth. We have more. There is more to the King's Fall raid. We'll be with you shortly. All right? Spider out!